Partisan free market think tank based right here in St. Louis. Good morning, Brenda Talent.
Good morning, McGraw.
Two things I want to get to. One is last week or so, there was an interesting story that was all praise, all good news, that WOW Airlines is going to start having flights originate out of Lambert to Europe starting at $99.
Yes, $99. Of course, there are add-ons if you want additional things.
If you want air in the cockpit and if you want the pilot to have a steering wheel and the plane to have wheels, it'll cost you a little more. But no, whether it's more nicer leg room and a bag or two and chips and a meal and whatever else. But still, when it's all said and done, a discount airline to Europe at a fraction of the cost of the major carriers. However, there is another side to this story.
There's always a however, right?
Yes, there is always a however. So what's going on with this? This is an interesting story.
Yes. To attract WOW to St. Louis, we're going to give some subsidies to them. Surprise, surprise.
Right.
$800,000 for marketing. In addition, an earlier news story said that Lambert will waive 18 months worth of landing fees, which comes to pretty close to $400,000. So if my addition's right, that's $1.2 million in subsidies to attract this airline here. And their commitment to the St. Louis area is only 2 years.
2 years. So $800,000 to market it, and then $400,000. So landing fees, that's where the airport makes all their money.
That's correct. Well, not all of them,
but a lot of
their money.
But they're also putting them at a competitive advantage over the other airlines that are already here.
I'm sure that they're arguing to themselves, there's no competition here because they're flying to Iceland and Southwest isn't. But you are giving tax subsidies, you're giving various taxpayer-funded subsidies to this airlines. And, of course, the question is, why wouldn't Southwest, why shouldn't American come back to Lambert and say, well, what are you going to do for us?
Right. So what's the benefit? I mean, are we that lacking in airfare that we need to give these airlines $1.2 million in subsidies?
Well, you know my argument, McGraw. From a free market perspective, if there was a demand for that service, we would see it. Now, what the economic development gurus are going to tell you is that we need international flights, because without international flights, how can we attract companies like Amazon who want an international airport?
Right. But is Jeff Bezos going to use WOW to have a layover in Iceland on his way to Dublin?
Exactly.
I don't know. I mean, this is something new in the airline industry. These airlines are actually demanding subsidies from these towns and these cities and these airports.
They've caught on. I mean, this is the favorite game, and it's not just airlines or football teams or just businesses. Everyone is using these kinds of negotiations to leverage areas against one another. And it's really one where, in the end, you got to not play the game if you want to win.
And the story I was reading, WOW, once the subsidies run out, oftentimes they can pull up the plug and pull up shop.
One of the studies showed that over 40% of them leave. And why not? I mean, because when you look at it, you've got to ask, if the market was that attractive, why wouldn't they have come anyway?
You have to, Delta, American, some of the other ones that are flying out of Lambert have to ask them, hey, you know what? We have flights to Europe, not direct. Neither is this WOW. So why is WOW getting the benefits and we're not? So might be a little trouble down the road for all that.
Obviously, again, whenever you're holding out these kind of incentives, there's no reason why everyone shouldn't say, I deserve a piece of the pie.
Just like when they're trying to get you to sign up for a cable service, and you're like, wait a minute, I'm an existing customer. Why are you paying somebody new a price I can't get? So
right, and if you negotiate well enough, you'll get the discount.
All right, so let's talk about Amazon, because this is interesting. We had Steve Stanger on earlier, county executive on, who say that they're going to work together. They're going to put together a package. They're going to make it the best package. This is the best place for a new Amazon headquarters. What's going through your mind?
Well, it just seems to me that we always get distracted by these big glittery objects in the city and the county, and it's like, to use another analogy, I'll use another cliche. It's as if we're always trying to get up to bat and hit the home run.
Yes.
But we're not hitting the singles.
Yes.
And we need to begin hitting the singles. We need to start doing the basics well before we go after these big shiny objects, because I'll make a prediction. I hope I'm wrong. Everybody would love 50,000 high-paying jobs to come to this area.
Right.
But my prediction is that we'll put together a package. We'll give a lot of stuff away that taxpayers are paying for, and Amazon will use it as leverage for another city to come in and beat our deal.
Okay, but are you in favor of putting together some type of package where they get benefits on corporate tax and income tax and everything else and so on?
McGraw, I bet you can answer that question for me.
I apologize, but I mean, the question is it worth it? I get it. We're going to give them a whole bunch of incentives. If they end up taking it and moving here, is it not worth it?
What I would argue is let the market work. If we do the basics well, companies will come here. The basics,
right.
Tax and regulatory environment, a secure environment, good schools. Those are the types of things that will attract and grow businesses that will stay without taxpayers having to pick who we think is going to be the next and best
right.
company down the road.
I think there's a lot of what you say in that. And I don't disagree, and I think most people would say in a perfect world, yes. But if position 1A is that St. Louis says, you know what, Aaron, we've got great roads, we've got great schools, we have great research facilities, we're in the middle of the country, and you know what, we're going to give you just all of our great workforce, and we're going to open the door, and we'll make it easy for you to build an 8,000 square foot warehouse or whatever size it is, and we have the land. And B says, we'll give you all sorts of tax breaks. The company is going to go to B and not A. So A, while playing the game right, is cutting. Are we not cutting off our nose to spite off our face?
My argument would be actually in that situation, if A is doing the things that you said A is doing, we're going to have a lot of homegrown businesses come here. We're going to have small businesses that don't have the leverage to negotiate those subsidies come here. And they're going to turn into the next Amazon for the United States, but their home base will be here because it'll be the proper environment for them.
Yeah, I agree with you. We do the big things right. We can get the mapping agency to stay here, but we can't get an MLS stadium together. We can't build a road from Kansas City to St. Louis, right? I mean, there are all sorts of things we can't do. We have 92 police departments in 75 towns and 65 contracts for garbage pickup, right? I mean, that's no way to run a railroad.
That's right. And look at it as a state. You know, we're going to have the St. Louis region putting together a bid. I believe St. Clair County has already said they're going to put together a bid.
Right.
And I believe the Kansas City area is going to put together a bid. So here's the state of Missouri, and on either side of our state, we're going to have cities competing for this business.
Yeah, it's not an easy decision. But Brenda Talent always has the other side of the story. CEO of the Show Me Institute. Where can we read more about this stuff?
Visit us at showmeinstitute.org.
Have a good week. Thanks.
You too.
8:40.